All right, so tomorrow, of course, is the primary election for GOP candidates in Florida. And, here's what happens in presidential primaries. Votes for one candidate means they're votes that don't go to other candidates. Normal, right? Well, some conservatives say they've had enough, and they've launched this petition to try to steer support away from Ron Paul. Included in it, the quote, "The time has come for true conservatives to rise up and take a stand." They call those who support Ron Paul, quote, "radical leftists." And it also says, quote, "The real conservatives of the Republican Party hereby demand that Ron Paul end his presidential campaign at once and exit the GOP, along with his radical cult followers, supporters." Well, the supporters I've seen of Ron Paul don't seem like any people that would pay attention to a petition like this, especially some of that threatening language. But I do want to talk to one of those supporters, Mary Willison, a Ron Paul supporter in our Los Angeles studio. Mary, the creators of this position have also said that Ron Paul better not launch a third-party campaign, and they've threatened even to campaign against his son, Senator Rand Paul. Talk to me. How do Ron Paul supporters like yourself take to language like this?
We're getting pretty tired of that kind of language, but we're happy that he hasn't really answered the question, but we don't think that he will run a third-party ticket, and the Ron Paul supporters are not going away. There's no way that their vote is going to any other candidate, and the GOP needs us. They need our vote. So we're getting loud and we're getting organized, and we're explaining and telling everyone that, our vote is not for sale. It's not going to go to any other of the candidates. So if they want to try to run him out of this race and put him onto a third-party ticket, it's only going to backfire in their faces, because we will write him in.
And you say, Mary, that you're getting loud, you're getting organized. I mean, from what I've seen, not just this time around, but back in 2008, even now Secretary of State Hillary Clinton says when she was running for president, she would show up to events, and the Ron Paul supporters were always loud and were always organized. Their numbers might not be as strong as some of the other candidates, but I want to point something out, something really, really interesting. People keep saying, Ron Paul hasn't won any primaries yet, but the supporters he has are not only loyal, many of them are, one of the target demographics. They are young people. I want you to take a look at some of these numbers from New Hampshire. When you look at voters between 19 and 29 years old, Ron Paul in New Hampshire got almost half the vote, 46%. Apparently in Iowa, it was very, very similar. Ron Paul got about 48% of the young vote. So talk to me, Mary, why do you think Ron Paul resonates? I mean, he's the oldest candidate running, and yet resonates so much with young people.
I think that the young people are more connected to the internet and doing their own research, having more of an understanding about the direction that the country is going in with the current leadership, and the other options that we're being given or told to go for are not any different than Obama. So we've done our research. We understand what is fractional reserve banking. We understand what is happening to our currency, so long as they're allowed to print trillions of dollars and inflate the prices of all of the goods and food and everything else that we need to survive. And we're looking at this for the long term. And I think some people, elderly or middle age or something, they're getting their information from the mainstream media, and they're not looking at things from all sides. So I love your guys' station. I watched Russia Today. It's my favorite. But I also watch probably nine different international news networks to get my information. And that is what the young people do. And we are energized about this because it's an idea. It's not just Ron Paul. It's an idea. And right now, a lot of the people think that the government needs to take care of us, or that we need the government to take care of us. But people who believe in themselves and believe in this idea believe that we can make a difference. So, we're excited that once Ron Paul gets into the presidency, that we can all start making a difference in our community as well, focusing on that.
Well, I do appreciate your kind words about RT, Mary. And I think it's really interesting and important that you mentioned a lot of young people are very internet savvy. From what I understand, Ron Paul has been mentioned more in sort of Facebook updates and shared articles than any of the other candidates. So you really have a look of that in action, how much the young people. You also said, though, your vote is not for sale. So even if Ron Paul stays in this through August, which many believe he may, a lot of people are starting to talk about how to treat Ron Paul supporters. We saw on one side that petition, people very angry at people like you. But I know even former GE CEO Jack Welch says, you know, we've got to be nice. We've got to be considerate to Ron Paul supporters. What is your message for those who may be courting your vote in the future? I mean, do most Ron Paul supporters say we either vote for Ron Paul or no one? Or, you know, is there talk of who to back as a second choice?
There is no second choice for Ron Paul supporters. You will never hear of a former Ron Paul supporter. Anybody who hears the message and does some research and understands it pours their heart into it, and it stirs up a passion, and we're growing. And you know, I'm a member of an activist group here where we're organizing to win California for Ron Paul, and we know that people are organizing in all the states. You know, we're growing by 20% per week in Los Angeles, where I'm a volunteer organizer, and you know, we have a strategy, and there's no difference between the other three candidates and what we currently have. I mean, the other issues that come up, and we visit them every year, abortion and you know, all of these other ones, these are not the issues. Like, the issue right now is this economy and these wars and this currency, the issues with the Federal Reserve, what they're doing with our currency. So, you know, people who do their research and educate themselves, they realize the direction that things are going in, and that, you know, it's time to understand and become active. So
how does it work? And I don't want to,
and you know,
I'm not, you know, saying that this is over, that just because Ron Paul hasn't won any primaries, I'm not saying that necessarily means anything in terms of Ron Paul, but looking ahead to November, if, you know, Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich is the Republican candidate, Barack Obama, obviously the Democratic candidate, the incumbent president, who do Ron Paul supporters vote for? Do they write in Ron Paul, or do they end up, you know, settling for second best? How does it work? Have you guys talked about this at all?
I believe they'll write in Ron Paul.
All right. Just final words from you, Mary, to those other candidates. From your perspective as a young person, as a Ron Paul supporter, what is Ron Paul doing so right that he's captivated so many young people like yourself?
Well, Ron Paul is delivering the same message, voting the same way that he has always voted. He is protecting our liberties. He's trying to protect our Constitution, protect our currency. And we need somebody like this. He's a visionary person. He's not corruptible. These other candidates are just, you know, once they get in office, we already know who their main supporters are and where they're getting their campaign contributions. Unlike Ron Paul is getting his contributions from us. You know, we're doing this out of, you know, a passion to get this done, to make this, to change this country and put it back on a track to prosperity. And can I just tell you that we are organizing a mega rally here in Los Angeles for March 5th before the Reagan Library debates, and we are trying to get as many volunteers and growing as fast as possible. We have a website. It's caliberty.org.
All right.
You can chip in if you want to donate to help us get this organized.
Ron Paul rally on
time. We really appreciate it.
March 5th in Los Angeles.
March 5th.
March 5th. All right.
Yes.
Ron Paul supporter, also volunteer organizer, Mary Willison. Thanks so much for sharing that perspective.
Thank you.